This is the Casio fx300MS calculator, and we're going to go ahead and use this to find the mean, standard deviation, and variance from a set of data. Now, I'm lucky because this one is already in statistics mode because I see the SD up here. But even if it's already in SD mode, I always like to restart in SD mode, standard deviation, statistical mode, because it makes sure it clears any old information that had been typed in. So the way that I do this is I hit the shift button in the top left, I hit the mode button over here, and I have different choices. And, whoops, I'm gonna hit 2, clear mode. Okay, this is not what I wanted. Can we just keep going and you can cut this first part out, Fred, or do we need to stop and start again?
All right, start again.
This is the Casio fx300MS calculator, and we're going to go ahead and use this to find the mean, standard deviation, and variance from a set of data. Now, the calculator is not already in statistical mode, and that's okay. If it was, I would restart in statistical mode anyways to clear data. So you'll notice over here it says mode. So first thing I want to do is hit the mode button, and option number 2 says SD. You could think standard deviation, but it's for statistical data. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the 2 since that was the choice. And now on the screen I see SD for statistical data. It's ready for me to enter stats. So the first thing I need to do is enter a list of numbers. So I'll type the first number in my list. Let's use 7. And the way that I store 7 is I hit the M+ or memory plus button. And when I do that, you'll notice it says n equals 1. That means I've just entered the first number in my list. If n had not equaled 1, I'd go ahead and hit the mode and choose option 2 again, and that usually clears out any old data that's in there. So I'm going to keep entering some data. My second number is 10. Don't hit enter, hit M+, and n is 2 because I've now entered 2 numbers. So let's go ahead and finish that out. Let's use 15 for our third number, 18 for our fourth number, and when I come up I see 4. 4 numbers have been stored in the list. I've got what I need. So now I'm ready to find my statistical data. Well, down here at the bottom left, above the number 1 button, I see SSUM, and above the number 2 button, I see SVAR. This is the one I want. But since it's in yellow, above the number 2, I'm going to come up to the word shift, which is in yellow. Notice the screen didn't change. But now when I hit the 2 for SVAR, statistical variables, these are my choices. If I enter the 1, I'm going to get X bar, the sample mean. So we'll go ahead and hit 1, and notice it's just kind of blinking after that. Nothing's really changed. I need to hit equals. And now I see 12.5. 12.5 is the sample mean, the sample average. Because the same formula is used for the population mean, it's also my population mean mu. Now usually you want a standard deviation next. The data is already stored. I don't need to store it again, but I need to go back to those options. So I want the SVAR, but oh yeah, it's in yellow. I need to hit shift, the number 2, and now I can choose between the population standard deviation or the sample standard deviation. Sample is always going to have n-1. So if I enter a 2, I get, oops, I have to hit enter on the calculator. I get 4.27, etc. And this is the population standard deviation, and I could write that down to use however I need to. Now, if I need the population variance, I need that number squared. Since it's already displayed on the calculator, I can go ahead and just hit the squared button, but again, I have a blinking cursor, so I need to hit enter to actually execute that command. And I get 18.25. The population variance is 18.25. But what if that data was sample data instead of population data? So now, again, I'm going to hit shift and the number 2 to get into statistical variables. And this time, actually, it's 3 for sample standard deviation that I wanted. And I have a sample standard deviation of 4.9328, etc. And had I wanted the sample variance, I just need to square that number, hit enter, and I'll see 24.3333. And that is how we use the Casio fx300MS to find mean, standard deviation, and variance.